Hey there, it's Dr. Schumard, and I wanted to talk to you about one of my favorite topics that we see in the office and one of the most hidden problems that we see with potential health issues, and that is toxicity. And one of the common things that we see in our practice with the individuals that are dealing with chronic degenerative diseases, they'll deal with toxins specifically like to heavy metals. Now, oftentimes people ask me, well, how am I being exposed to heavy metals? Because you just don't hear about it very often in the news media. But there's very common ones we typically see that are commonly associated with the problems that they may be experiencing. Those four are the four most common ones that we want to talk about today. I guess there's maybe five. We'll talk about five. The first one is going to be lead. And people tend to say, well, how am I getting exposed to lead? Like, pretty much that toxin has been handled in many situations. But we really want to talk about toxins and its compounding effects. So not necessarily what you may be exposed to today, but it could have been something you were exposed to 20, 30, 40 plus years ago. So not too long ago, there used to be lead paint that people were exposed to in toys and the regular household paint as well. But oftentimes we still hear to date where there's lead exposure even in water supply and even the local water supplies as well. So just because you don't think you may be getting exposed, it's still a possibility. And on top of that, it could be something you were exposed to in the past. The second one we want to talk about is aluminum. Now, obviously, we have a lot of aluminum we're exposed to through cans and, like food cans as well. So there's a lot of things we can get exposed to, and that can get into our body and start to compound. And aluminum has been shown to be a very common thing associated with things like Alzheimer's disease, neurodegeneration type things, and it's very inflammatory to the body. The third thing we want to talk about is mercury. Now, this one's important, and many of us know that we still have this mercury exposure on a regular basis, especially if you're eating fish on a regular basis. Now, there are these bottom feeder fish that are more exposed because mercury is a heavy metal toxin and it usually sinks to the bottom. So things like shark and tuna, larger type fish are more exposed to mercury. But I'll give you guys a little really important information. And there's an acronym that I like to use. It's called SMASH. And that means these types of fish have the least amount of mercury. And so if you're going to eat fish, these are the ones you want to stick with. So that's salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring. So those may not be the most appealing except for maybe the salmon, but those are the ones that have the least amount of mercury exposure. And if you're trying to limit your exposure, that's one way you can do that. There's other ways we can get mercury exposure as well. Things like amalgams, when the old school way of doing cavities. So if you've had cavities for a long time in your life, you could be releasing these mercury gases inside your body, which can cause problems with brain degeneration, also neurological degeneration as well, systemically, immunological problems. There's a lot of things that can happen with that type of heavy metal toxin. So these types of things are very important to understand. There's one more that I want to talk about because I don't want to make this video too long. That's cadmium. Cadmium, and I guess arsenic, I'll have them both in there. Cadmium and arsenic are very commonly still can be exposed today. Cadmium, oftentimes we can be exposed through cigarette smoke. So again, it's not as common as it used to be where you could smoke, in restaurants and there was that smoking section where there was no walls, right? But we were all still being exposed to that. And arsenic has been found to be in white rice. So there was even a recent recall from a baby cereal because the arsenic levels were too high because it was made by rice flour. So these things are still exposures out there. And if you don't know if you have them in your body, unless you get evaluated, you have to understand what's going on inside your system that could be contributing to some of your poor health and some of the symptoms you're experiencing. So if you've never had your heavy metals tested, maybe now's the time. And if you're interested in running a test, we can definitely help you out with that. We can set you up for an initial consultation with me or one on my team and make sure that we evaluate you appropriately to see if heavy metal toxicity may be one of the mechanisms that's contributing to your poor health. So hopefully this video was worth your time today. And if there's anything we can do for you, please reach out. We can definitely set you up for initial consultation. Have a great day.